The RV Advisor presents Consumer Court. It's all here. The horror stories and the solutions. Consumer Court. Hi, everybody. My name's Tom Alexander. This is the Consumer Court. And today we have with us three folks who have some experience with the camping world universe, if you will. And we're going to share some stories, or I should say they are going to share some stories. Let's meet our guests. First, it is Amanda Bowers. Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
And we've also got Rod West, and Rod is in Spokane, Washington.
Hey, Tom.
Rod. Yes, sir. And I should mention Amanda is in Amarillo, Texas, and I believe our other guest, Jacob Rich, is also in the Amarillo area. Is that correct, Jacob?
Yes, sir.
Okay, terrific. Well, folks, you got a couple things in common. One is you all worked for Camping World, and the other thing is that there were some, I'll be gentle on this one, a couple bumps in the road, I guess you could say. So I know you've each got some stories, and Amanda, why don't you go first? Tell us what's your experience was when you were there and what happened.
Well, it was crazy, that's for sure. I love a good challenge, and that's what I kept saying when I first started as a service advisor. But it was beyond a challenge. It was total chaos, just insanity all around. Upset customers constantly, so many red tickets. I mean, it was crazy.
When did you start? When did you start there?
So I started in January of last year, and I worked there about 6 months or so. And I was like, yeah, that's enough.
That's enough for you.
Yeah.
Can you give us some examples of what kind of a little bit of the chaos that was going on there on a day-to-day basis?
So first, learning the ropes, everything. A couple of days into it, I started calling customers, and within third or fourth phone call I made, I discovered that we had this person's unit for almost a year. They hadn't got to use it at all since they bought it. They're still paying storage fees, making payments, and nothing had been done to it. It was still just sitting there. It just happened repeatedly over and over again. The manager, they just constantly lied to the customers, and I wasn't for it. So that, of course, that caused problems at work. They're like, oh, why can't you just go along with what we put in the notes, or that, and just constantly bashing the technicians, blaming the techs, and it wasn't their fault. It was just the lack of order. Just like I said, pure chaos.
Yeah. Now, Jacob, you worked with Amanda at the same location in the Amarillo, Texas area. Can you share a little bit about what did you see a lot of this yourself going on?
I was kind of naive to some of it because I was trying to get my work done. I just wasn't realizing that my work was being took credit for other techs, and other techs not good with being put in the name. So once I realized that, I started noticing how it was just a disaster everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, we had units for months on end. It was hard to get our parts guy to order parts, even though we give them the part number and everything. It was just chaos. I kind of felt bad for most of the customers just because they weren't getting to use their unit. And really, Campbell really mind because they would just tell us, "Oh, try to get them to buy a more expensive one," and this and that. And I just finally got tired of it.
Yeah. Did you feel? Did you both feel, both you and Amanda, get the sense that your hands were tied, in a sense that you kind of, you wanted to help these folks, and you really kind of felt powerless? Is that a good description?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I wanted to help the techs too,
Yeah.
you know, especially Jacob. He was the #1 technician, I believe, in the country. They never gave him credit for that there. And they constantly told customers, oh, if something wasn't fixed right, you know, oh, it was Jacob's fault.
Yeah.
I thought, this is awfully strange, because he had nothing to do with that unit, or it was just one thing after another.
Yeah.
Like I said, just insane. It really was.
Like almost like being the fall guy to some degree.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
That's
and he
rough.
was. Yeah.
That's rough. Now, Rod West, you're a good, good 1,000+ miles away from Amarillo. You're up in the northwest, I should say, corner of the country, in Spokane, in Washington. What experience did you have at your outlet there?
Well, mine was a little bit different situation. I transferred from the Portland market and took a promotion to be the general manager of the store. I walked into a pretty hostile work environment. The gentleman I was replacing had just been promoted a month before I was brought in there, and then he was demoted. And I don't think certain people in the corporate office knew that he had been promoted. And so there was some bitterness right there, not only from him, but from other employees, because I'm the new guy nobody knew. And I came in as a salesman off the floor, just a friend of one of the VPs, and nobody explained the background that I had. So the entire store was skeptical, and didn't think I would be there very long. They were going to make sure I didn't last very long, because I didn't know what I was doing. But I have a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And buckled down, and I ended up winning that person over, and we ended up being a very good team together. But the first 6 months, I had arrows. It's like I had a bullseye on my back. There was false accusations by somebody who I did not promote when an opportunity came open with human resources, and human resources investigated these allegations unbeknownst to me, which hurt very, because it was all behind my back. But then I get this call on a Saturday during a sales meeting that I'm giving, and it was HR. And when I called them back, very, very, very nice lady, apologized immensely to me for putting me through that. They investigated and found they were unfound allegations. And I really appreciated her apologizing to me for that. But to go through that all behind my back, first of all, I didn't appreciate. But then we had the industry had a record year, and that store doubled the expectation profits, more than doubled it. Mm-hmm. And our pay plans as general managers expired at the end of the year. And which was last year, 2021, and the middle of February, there was some promotions above us, general managers. In the middle of February, my new boss called and said, "Hey, I just want to give you a heads up. This is going to be your new pay plan." And it was over a 33% pay cut. And I still didn't get it in writing. And I worked until the middle of March, just about a year ago this month. And I called him and asked him, I said, "Have you seen the pay plans?" He says, "I have not seen them yet, but I know they're not going to move from them." So I resigned, I quit. And They had planned on backdating that pay plan to the first of the year. So we're working, 2.5, 3 months, and then we're expected to take a retroactive pay cut of over 33%.
Right. Right.
I couldn't believe that the company treated us that way and expected us to continue working without a pay plan and no kind of conversation back and forth. Hey guys, sorry, we're working on them. They'll be out soon. Just nothing. They expected us to stay.
Yeah.
And I moved. I relocated for that job. I got no relocation assistance, and I went through pretty well 6 months of hell with employees there before I could win them over.
Yeah. It just sounds like a very, very toxic work environment. And that's really, really unfortunate. You all have your similarities, and which sounds a lot like disorganization, but there's differences as well. What would you say? Is there any sense of satisfaction that you feel that you can attain now? What would make you feel a little better? I mean, would some kind of a letter or compensation or something? What do you expect anything, or do you expect nothing from them?
I don't expect anything from them, although my replacement, from what I'm told, had resigned because the new pay plan, he was not, making the kind of money that the managers below him were making. So they adjusted that. Well, I was told they weren't going to adjust it. Give me my job back and adjust that pay plan. And, I expected to take a 10% cut, but not 33% or more.
Yeah, that's a chunk. That's a chunk. And Amanda, how about you? Is there anything you expect to hear or anything at all?
I mean, not for myself, but for the technicians that I dealt with on the regular basis. It's horrible how they were done and the image that they then have to, all the customers.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the service department's fault. That's service department's fault. But some of these salesmen were promising things that were just impossible. Blaming technicians for things that weren't their fault. Like, it just, to me, it wasn't fair. I know for Jacob's sake, there were so many times that they backflagged him and or didn't pay him for a completed work order.
Yeah.
It was insane. I want the technicians to be treated better. In turn, it may make, the service departments run better. I spoke to many service departments working there throughout the country, and they all seem to have the same problem.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, the pecking order all the way from the top down. Just, work through it. It's sad.
From the top down, that's an interesting comment, because I know that you'd probably all like to hear from the person at the top, who is Marcus Lemonis, to get some kind of notification or apology or whatever it might be. Jacob, you're an experienced technician. You've been doing this for some time, and all of you, the three of you, really have a lot of experience in what you do. You should be able to go and find something, but we all know that it's not the easiest thing. The job market can be a little frustrating. Do you all feel that you'll be able to kind of get back in the saddle again at some point?
I mean, for myself, yes, I'm back at it doing my thing, but again, it didn't really affect me as much. I was honest with customers. I was honest with the techs. I tried to keep things as they should be, in my opinion. I mean, just be honest across the board. don't lie, don't BS, things like that. And
Right.
it just,
Right.
yeah.
Jacob, what about you? Are you working right now, or are you looking for work?
Um, I'm working at a RV body shop, but I'm still looking for work. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And Rod, I know you're thinking again. I think relocation is something that you're looking to do.
Yeah, I'm gonna get out of the cold. I'm getting up there closer to retirement, so it's a lot more difficult for me to find that job again. Um,
Yeah.
you know, companies are on the under 40 kick.
Yeah. Well, the weather's fine here in South Florida, and it is warm. So if you want to get out of the cold, this isn't a bad place. Um, we have heard these kinds of stories many, many times about Camping World and others, and it is frustrating. It's frustrating. I think probably the most frustrating thing for an employee, a conscientious employee, obviously you three are all absolutely fit that profile, is that you care and you want to help the customers. You want to get along well with your fellow employees, your teammates. And when you're in an environment where it doesn't allow you to do that, it's got to be tough to get up in the morning and drive to work. Would you say that would be a fairly accurate take?
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the gentleman I replaced. He'd just been promoted. And then to have it yanked out from underneath him and throw me in the mix there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of the corporate people knew that he had been promoted, but then he ended up being a bad guy, which in all reality he wasn't. Very good producer.
Yeah. So when it's funny because I'll watch a ball game and I'll be watching a baseball game or something, and behind the batter, they have the advertisements, and very often I see Camping World. Now, I look at that and I say, okay, well, that must be a pretty big business to be able to advertise on national ball games and things like that. They must be doing things right. I mean, that's the impression they're looking to put out there. But maybe the truth is a little bit different than that, because we've heard these kinds of things. Does it frustrate you when you see these big ad campaigns and promotions and everything? And do you think to yourself, if they only knew?
Absolutely.
Well, to be privy to some of the profits I saw and then have a pay cut the way it was, and to see millions of dollars spent on sponsorships like that. The thing about it is there's a lot of really great people in the corporate Camping World offices. They buy up smaller groups and keep some of those. And the family I ran across that they had bought out that are in, VP roles are wonderful people. And I don't think had they still been the owners, we would have gone that long without a pay plan and would have taken that kind of pay cut.
Right.
I think sometimes the machine gets too big for itself and starts eating its own tail.
100%.
Yeah, that happens. And it's unfortunate. Well, I'm sorry the three of you have had to endure this chaos. Hopefully you'll all be in a position sooner than later where you'll look back on this and be able to, more easily let it go. But I know how it feels. I've been there myself, and it can be a challenge and it's frustrating. I appreciate all three of you coming on and sharing your stories. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience before we go? Just a word to the wise, or any other thing.
First,
Amanda?
I'd say
Oh, go ahead, Jacob. Go ahead.
for all the customers out there, you should probably really talk to the service department before you buy a trailer, just so you can get the ins and outs on which ones tend to be in the shop for warranty more than others, stuff like that.
Okay. Great advice. Thank you. Amanda?
Or communicate, with the sales and let them know, y'all work together instead of, against each other. At least for our stores, that's how it was. It was kind of up against each other kind of thing. It was strange, but and Camping World should be honest. Like, just be honest with the customers. Like, most of them are pretty cool and get it, But when you lie to them over and over again, it's tiring for them. Yeah. And the techs, it's too much.
Yeah.
So.
Rod?
Amanda brought up one thing just now that's prevalent, I think, in most of their stores, and that's us and them philosophy between sales and service. They're two teams instead of one team.
Yep.
That it's one thing that we worked hard on in the Spokane store was making it one team as opposed to us and them. And there's some wonderful people that work in that organization, and I'm sure it's does some good things, but my experience wasn't all that great. And but you got to forgive and move on, but you don't have to forget.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, that's also a very good piece of advice. Folks, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on the Consumer Court. Our guests, Amanda Bowers and Jacob Rich. They're both from the Amarillo, Texas area, and from Spokane, Washington, Rod West. This is Consumer Court. I'm Tom Alexander. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. So long, everybody.
Right, Tom. Thank you.